Welcome everyone to Unity of London. What a lovely song to begin with. And we are truly grateful today. We're grateful for all of our Unity members with us, even Tom joining us from Mexico. And we're especially grateful for Rev Jim Rosemergy and his wife Nancy being with us all the way from the North Georgia mountains. We welcome everybody who's here. We welcome those online, those who will be watching later. And our vision, as you know this, is to see a world powerfully transformed through the growing movement of shared spiritual awakening. That is such a wondrous message. And we are part of that. We are part of that spiritual awakening. And we are part of the transformation that is happening in terms of how we see the world transformed. That is our mission. And our mission is to transform lives. One sentence that has such a depth of meaning. How can we do that? We inspire people to make a positive difference in the world by how we are, how we act, by our own connection with divine presence. We are able to let people feel inspired, and making a positive difference in the world might mean our tiny world or a bigger world. Each of us is unique, and each of us makes a difference and can make a difference. We do have one big announcement today, and that is about something that is before we go to prayer. We will be having a special breakout room, and our breakout room today will happen just following our service. Larry will manage that, and it's an opportunity for anyone who wants to have a one-on-one prayer session. Remember the way we used to do at Unity on Nelson Street? And if you wanted to pray with a prayer chaplain, you go into our lovely little room. Well, we can't go into a real room, but we can go into a breakout room. And today, Sylvia Vanderhook, one of our prayer chaplains, will be in that room following the service. And so if you want to pray with Sylvia, then Larry will give you the direction, and you can do that right after the service. And if more than one of you wants to pray, then the first person prays, then they leave, then the next person comes in. So it's a chance of that one-on-one prayer. And we hope that you'll take advantage of it. And now we move into prayer. And I invite you to close your eyes if that feels good, to go to your heart space. And as we join together in prayer, we affirm the loving divine presence in all of us, in those who are with us physically right now, and the divine presence in those who will join us later or watch online. The divine presence in those who are unable to be with us. We share today our respect and our caring for all spiritual communities gathered in faith today. We hold in prayer Unity of Moncton Study Group and Unity Ministry in Motion. We hold in prayer anyone who may be facing physical or mentally health-related challenges, and especially our dear Marianne. We affirm the spiritual faith and strength within in those who are suffering. We send out our loving prayers to those many people in Texas who are suffering loss of power and water and heat. We affirm their strength and their courage in this time of need. We also affirm the dedication and resilience of all of our healthcare workers, those in long-term care, those in hospitals, those on the line as mental health support workers, like our dear Dawn. If you wish to support people close to you in prayer, please whisper their names now. And when we pray, we are affirming the strength, the faith, the wisdom, and the love, those folks. We hold in prayer Chuck and Suzanne, Minnie, our dear Peter and Claudette and their families. We hold in prayer Margaret Hoff and anyone else we know who needs our special loving prayers right now. Centered in divine mind, may our hopes and dreams continue to blossom. May we realize our oneness with all that is. May we always take time to express abundantly love in this world and to appreciate whatever is present in our life with gratitude. And so it is. Amen. Today, our dear Bonnie Orvidas, will be sharing another one of Unity's core values through her sharing of the daily word.
Let go, let God. I do what is mine to do and release the rest. Over the years, I have accepted more and more responsibility as I have grown in maturity and experience. I have also grown in wisdom as I am able to discern what is mine to do. I have learned what to take on and what to leave for others. I have also learned not to exhaust myself by taking on too many commitments. Perhaps most important, I know when to use my will and determination to make things happen and when to let go. I recall times in my life when I felt frustrated that events did not unfold the way I had expected. I can now see how they unfolded perfectly, often in ways better than I could have imagined. I now let go easily, trusting in that perfection. And from Acts 17:28, in him we live and move and have our being. Even as some of your own poets have said, for we too are his offspring. It is my pleasure today to introduce our guest speaker, Reverend Jim Rosemergy. Reverend Jim graduated as an ordained Unity minister in 1976, and he has served Unity congregations in North Carolina, Missouri, Washington, and Florida. Reverend Jim is the published author of 12 books. He has served on the Association of Unity Churches in various capacities, and in 2007, he received the Light Expressing God Award. Reverend Jim's approach to ministry focuses on prayer, spiritual mysticism, and new thought. Jim and his wife, Nancy, have 2 married sons and 2 granddaughters. Welcome to Unity, Reverend Jim.
Thank you. Thank you very much. It's good to be with all of you. I was, tuned in a little bit before the service and, could just kind of feel the energy and the interaction of all of you. And underlying it all, I think, is probably just this deep desire to be together again. that, you're missing one another, that personal contact. And as we all are, thank God for Zoom, that we can kind of zoom into a service with one another. But maybe one of these days, Nancy and I can get up to London and just spend a little time with you. That would be a wonderful, wonderful thing. But today I want to share a lesson with you entitled Take One More Step. And I was told, Pauline let me know that you're focusing on strength. And I was thinking, what could be better than that? Look at what we're in the midst of all around the world, and we need to be strong. And so to have a focus on strength is a wonderful thing for all of us, because we need to be strong during these times. And as I began to put together some thoughts to share with you, it was something that enhanced my life just to be able to do that kind of exploration. So we're going to be talking about strength together in four different areas: of physical, mental, emotional, and spiritual. And as you know, strength is one of the 12 powers of man. And one of the 12 powers, as Charles Fillmore, our co-founder, shared with us, is that, one of the 12 powers, that's an avenue through which the Christ Spirit, the Spirit of God within us, can express itself in the world. And there are different characteristics and different ways for us to participate in that, to support that expression. And one of my favorite words for strength is persistence. And I saw, looking over your newsletter, that one of the words you were using, and it just dovetails with it wonderfully, is the whole idea of endurance, of enduring, of stamina, of there's no quit in me, how important that is. Because, and I'm sure some of you have probably reached this, and people all around the world are having this experience, where we come to our extremity, where there's a part of us that doesn't think we can go on. But when we reach that extremity, that's where we can take one more step. If we can just take one more step, then that spiritual strength that's within us, it will begin to express itself. The scripture says, let the weak say I am strong. And so I think that's what it's addressing, the idea of extremity. There I am, I can't go on. But if I can just take one more step, then I feel that transcendent strength that I never even knew was there. So let's talk about each one of these different kinds of strength. There's physical strength, muscles. And how does that come into being? Well, physical strength comes through repetition, lifting the weights, using it, whether you use your body, the muscles, or you use your mind. Use is important. Charles Fillmore said that use is the power of increase, that if we use something, then it goes stronger. Let me give you an example. I used to play a lot of tennis. I was the number one player on my high school tennis team, and in college, I was the number one player on my college team in my junior and senior year. And senior year, our team was number 7 in the country, small college. So I played a lot of tennis and played at a fairly high level, and always enjoyed that competition. When I turned 35, Nancy and I and our family, we were living in Raleigh, North Carolina. I was a minister there. I pioneered a ministry there, and I was still in the midst of playing a lot of tennis. I turned 35, and I decided I wanted to play in 2 tournaments. I wanted to play in the men's tournament, and since I turned 35, I wanted to play in the 35 and over tournament. So I needed to get stronger. And so I made a commitment, remember that word, I made a commitment that I would get up in the morning, like 5:30 or so. And believe me, I was not a morning person, but I made a commitment to get up and to run in the morning so that I would be strong to be able to do what needed to be done and playing in those 2 tournaments at the same time, which is not the most brilliant thing I've ever done in my life, but nevertheless, that's what I did. So what we're doing, and we're going to compile some words and ideas that will help us with this expression of strength from within us. So we think of endurance, of persistence, we think of stamina, we think of use, and now we've added commitment, and that adds a mental part to it as well, does it not? If we're going to make a commitment, that's a mental thing. It isn't just a matter of something that we do physically with our muscles. So let me give you another example. I must be pining away to play some tennis, because as I was putting together some thoughts for you, all these ideas of tennis have come up. And when I was in the Navy, Nancy and I lived in Albany, Georgia, which is in southern Georgia, playing in a tournament in the middle of the summertime, heat and humidity. My doubles partner and I had won that day the doubles championship. And I went right from playing in a doubles championship right into playing the singles championship against a really good player. And we ended up in the third set, the final set, and that playing immediately beforehand and then playing in the singles final, my legs seized up, cramps, and I just crumbled to the ground. If you've ever had leg cramps, they are one of the most excruciating pains that you could ever have. And people rushed out on the court and kind of massaged my leg, and I got some more liquid in me. But I was, it's a time maybe to quit, call it quits. But there's no quit in me. And so I got up and I was going to continue on because I had a goal. So we're adding another word. I got a commitment, I've added a goal, and the goal is to be the city champion. It is to win the tournament, win the trophy. And except as I started playing, I noticed that when I went to serve and I pushed off with my legs, I would just cramp up again. And so I had to serve underhand. Serving underhand in a championship match against a good player is not a good thing. And I realized I couldn't go on keeping that up. I had to end the points as quickly as I could because of the condition my body was in at the time. And I did that, and I actually won that tournament, won that championship. And, the other ingredient that I think was important is the mental aspect of this, which was I had that goal. And so having that goal is something you're going to pursue, and you're not going to quit until it is achieved. And so that's a dimension. In this case, it was a combination of physical and mental. And, winning a tournament, that's sort of a mundane thing. Something a little more serious. And you may have read about these things in the newspaper or maybe online. There's a woman, turns out, this happens quite frequently. The woman is she only weighs 90 pounds. She's in the kitchen. She's cooking, preparing. Her husband is in the garage. He's working on the vehicle, family vehicle, and he's jacked it up, and he's underneath it. The woman's in the kitchen, and she hears this crash and this muffled moan, and she goes out in the garage, and there the vehicle has fallen onto her husband. And so this 90-pound woman goes over to this vehicle, and she lifts it off of her husband. Now, how is that possible? How is it that someone who weighs 90 pounds finds the strength to lift an automobile that probably weighs 2,000 pounds? And the answer is this, and we're adding other ideas to how the strength can express from within us. And it is, she forgot herself. She forgot her limitation. Her sense was, I must help my husband, my beloved. And so forgetting herself, forgetting limitation, she walked over to that automobile and she lifted it off of him. Now, I want you to remember that forgetting of self and forgetting limitation, because when we talk about spiritual strength, that will come to play for us again. So you see how we're putting these ideas together. It's about endurance and persistence and commitment and goals and forgetting self and forgetting limitation. And now let's move and just consider emotional strength. Emotions are powerful things, and they can bring us to our knees. They can seem to overwhelm us. We're out of control. Feelings like hurt and betrayal, guilt, regret, grief. These are powerful things for us. And they seem to dominate us at times. They weaken us. Fear can weaken us, paralyze us, for instance. And so when we're facing feelings like that, feelings perhaps during COVID here of loneliness, how can we move beyond that? What must we do? A couple of suggestions. First one is a realization. I am not my feelings. I have feelings, but they are not who I am. They may appear to dominate me and be the fullness of who I am, but it is not true. I am not my feelings. Second, I had a realization many years ago, probably one of the most important revelations of my life. It's what I call the sacred human. And the realization was this: unless I'm able to accept my humanity, I won't be able to express my divinity. Let me say that again. Unless I'm able to accept my humanity, I won't be able to express my divinity. Here's what I found. I expended a lot of effort and energy for many, many years on trying to fix and repair my humanity, kind of propping it up. A lot of work was poured in to my humanity. And what I discovered I really needed to do was, and this takes a lot of energy as well, is to accept my humanity, accept it as it is. Acceptance is the first thing that love does. You know, when you have a really good friend, they love you. What do? They accept you as you are. And so I started pouring energy into accepting myself as I am, rather than trying to change myself. And you can apply the same principle to my feelings. Unless I am willing to accept my feelings, I won't be able to take one more step. Unless I can accept those feelings and embrace them, they're going to be still in control of me. And so what I'm saying to you, friends, is strength, which is feelings are to be felt. And so how do we do that? How do we accept them, love them, embrace them? Let me give you a meditative practice. Now, one thing about feelings, you know, as we're moving through life, often feelings ambush us. Have you noticed that? All of a sudden there's some little trigger and this anger just comes out, or this sadness or depression just comes upon us. It just kind of comes out of nowhere. We get ambushed. And what we can do with feelings sometimes is we suppress them and we become depressed. And then they just ambush us. In this prayer meditation technique, that's not what we do. We're going to become still. We're going to become meditative. We're going to slow our breathings. We're going to relax. And then with our memory, we're going to bring to mind some expression or some event where there was a wealth of feelings, maybe of grief or of anger or a sense of rejection or abandonment. We're going to bring that to mind so the feelings will come. But there's a difference. Where before we were ambushed by feelings, not now, we're going to call for the feelings to come, and they're coming into somewhat of a peaceful meditative consciousness. That's different. And when the thoughts come, we're going to say, tell me more. Tell me more. When the feelings come, we're not going to push them aside. We're going to say, you're a part of me. Come, figuratively, come and sit with me, be with me. Tell me more. Tell me about those feelings. And so we're beginning to accept those feelings. And when we do, then this strength, the ability to move through the feelings and not to be paralyzed by them, begins to unfold. So we have physical strength, mental strength, emotional strength, and now spiritual strength. Let me ask you a question. if you had a source of energy for you, would you rather that it come from a battery? Would you rather have it come from the power station, directly from the power station? Well, of course, the answer would be the power station. Batteries run out. The power station is the source of that power. This is spiritual strength. We're going to add a new word here now. This is spiritual strength through connection. Connection with God. It comes through prayer and meditation. And this is where I want you to remember that woman who lifted the vehicle off of her husband. She was able to do that because she forgot herself. She forgot her limitation. What if we engaged in a kind of prayer where we forgot ourselves? A lot of prayer is not about forgetting ourselves at all. It's about ourselves. It's about us. It's about whatever challenge that we happen to have. Jesus gave us a verse of scripture that is the foundation for the way we pray in unity, affirmative prayer. It's Mark 11:24. Now, I want you to listen carefully as I kind of recite this verse, because I'm going to ask you a question. Here's the verse. Therefore, I tell you, whatever you ask in prayer, believe that you've received it, and it'll be yours. So here's the question. Of the words in that verse, what's the most important word? Now I'm going to switch my view over here so I can see some hands maybe. And I'm going to ask which one's the most important. Let me say the verse again. Therefore, I tell you, whatever you ask in prayer, believe that you've received it, and it'll be yours. So how many of you think ask is the most important word? Anybody? Okay, a couple hands. How about prayer? Most important word. How about, let's see, therefore I tell you whatever else compare. How about believe? How many of you think believe is the most important word? A bunch of you think believe is the most important word. And how many of you think, for instance, receive is the most important word? Okay, a couple of you. Now, how many of you, and this is where Nancy needs to come over here. Come over here, Nancy. Nancy, she's loaded with answers here. Here she is. Okay. Come on down so everybody can see you. So Nancy, what is the most important word in that verse?
It.
It?
It.
I-T is the most important word? Did you hear that? Nancy's saying that the most important word is it. I wonder why that is. Well, it is the most important word. And the reason is this. Let me shift back over here again. The reason it's the most important word is because it determines why you pray. It determines your motivation. Therefore, I tell you, whatever you ask in prayer, believe that you received it. That's the affirmative part of it, as if it's already done. Believe that you received it, and it will be yours. But that it can be an Ethan Allen bookcase, it can be a healing, it can be any number of things, could it not? But what I'm suggesting for you, if there's to be spiritual strength, is that we want to forget ourselves. We want to forget limitation. And maybe what we want to do is follow Jesus' example. How did Jesus pray? What did he pray for? What was his prayer like? Here's the heart of Jesus' way of praying. And it is, I and the Father are one. That, excuse me, that was a Jesus prayer. And so prayer for Jesus was about conscious connection with God that he called Father. That's what prayer was for him. And so if there is to be strength for us flowing from within us, then I think the focus of our prayer and meditation should be to wake up. You know, your mission statement is about spiritual awakening. It's very attuned to what I'm talking about. You have time for one more story? One more story? Would that be okay? Okay, I see Pauline's, she's the boss, so I see her head nodding up and down. That's a good thing. Years ago, I was minister of Unity of Truth in Spokane, Washington. And there was a period of time in my life where I was, once a quarter, I was going away for like 3 days at a time for prayer and meditation and sometimes for writing. I had this, this feeling that I wanted to go away and see if I could write for hours on end, days on end. So I got a cabin of a friend up on a lake in Idaho. And I went there by myself and I got into the cabin. It was the fall, come snowflakes outside. You all very familiar with those. And I got a fire going in the fireplace and set up a card table overlooking a picture window out over the lake. And I had a K-Pro computer. Some of you may remember that from days and days ago. And I set that up and I started typing. And I typed two paragraphs. And the cursor on the computer locked up, you know, where the little blinking light where all the letters pour out. They locked up. So I'm hitting all the keys, nothing's happening. And it was the days of those 64K discs, remember those? I pulled out one, I put it back, nothing. I took the program disc, I took it out, I put in another one, nothing. I liked what I had written, so I wrote it down longhand, and I shut the computer completely off. I brought it back on, and that cursor is still just blinking and looking at me. Now I'm beginning to realize why they call it a cursor, because I'm starting to lose my sense of an indwelling presence. And I'm raising that hand and saying, you know, talking to God. So, you know, I've been feeling guided for years and years to come and, you know, see if I could write for days on end. And here I finally am in this place and the cursor locks up. I hear this distinct inner voice and it says, Jim, your purpose is not to write. It is to know me. It is to know me. And so I went back to the keyboard and I hit it. It started working. I wrote for 3. Nothing I wrote ever came to anything, but I had the experience. And it's in tune with what I'm saying to you about spiritual strength. This is a kind of prayer and focus in prayer and meditation where it's about knowing God. It's about connection. And so that becomes a powerful word when it comes to strength. So let's look at this. What is it that contributes to strength? A little review. We know persistence, endurance, no quit in us, use with the muscles, use of the mind, a commitment, a goal, forgetting self, forgetting limitation, being a part of something greater, connection, conscious connection with spirit. Without it, there isn't that strength that just transcends the human conditions. Can we take one more step? I say, yes, we can. I take one more step. And so it is. Amen. And now what I'd like us to do, I love the fact that you all do this apparently, which is, you know, we take these ideas that we've talked about, but it's time to be still and to see not what Jim Rosemergy has to say, but what Spirit has to say. So why don't we just pause together for a moment and enter into that time of prayer and meditation. Take a deep breath with me. Let it go. No longer holding on. Letting myself be held. The prayer I pray is Jesus' prayer. I and the Father are one. Could such a prayer be enough? conscious connection with Spirit. To feel an opening of my soul. Not so something that is added, but so something that is within me, that is of God, is released into my life and into the world. And so in this quiet place where voices are still and small, I take one more step. Forgetting self, forgetting limitation, to touch and be touched by something greater, something that is the truth of my being. Nowhere to go, nothing to do, other than to be still. A simple prayer. I and the Father are one. Nothing could be more true. And so I take another deep breath and I just rest for a moment in the quiet, in the silence, letting God be God. The focus of mind and heart is so simple. To be awake, to be conscious. Conscious connection in the silence. I hear the guidance streaming through the ages. Let the weak say, I am strong. In conscious oneness with God, I am strong. And all is well. So let's take another deep breath together. And let the rise and fall of my chest begin to bring me back to this time and this place. And yet I remain in conscious connection and oneness with the One. As I open my eyes, embrace the world again, and know that I am among friends. And so it is. Amen.
And well, part of me wants to just stay quiet and remember the wisdom of Rev. Jim Rosemergy. The words that stand out, the endurance, the conscious connection with God. Rev. Jim, you brought to us so much wisdom and stories that are so memorable. I'll remember you playing tennis, but I know it wasn't just about tennis. It was letting us know that keeping on taking one step is what matters. And we needed your message. We needed your presence today. And we're so grateful for you sharing your years of wisdom and showing us in action how to pray consciously connecting with God and also how to meditate in a soothing and still way. And we thank you from the bottom of our hearts. Thank you. Now is our time to share of our abundance. And I cannot see my slide, my picture, so I don't know if I'm unmuted.
Yeah,
I'll
you
guess
are.
that I am
You are,
unmuted.
Colleen. We
Oh.
can hear you.
Oh, good. Okay. So with ourselves shining, we now have an opportunity to share our abundance in the form of a tithe. And we give thanks for all those who continue to give gifts to our spiritual community, gifts of talent, time, energy, and monetary gifts. We give our appreciation, we express our appreciation for the benefits that we enjoy, our opportunity to be on Zoom, to hear wonderful speakers like Rev Jim Rosemergy. We rejoice in our chance to share of our good to the source that feeds us. And you can do this by pressing the little tithely button or going to Facebook. And now I invite you to share the prayer for protection, this wondrous prayer created by our dear poet. The light of God surrounds me. The love of God enfolds me. The power of God protects me. The presence of God watches over me. Wherever I am, God is, and all is well. Yay, God. And our peace song. Mute. And now is our opportunity. If you have any comments or questions for Rev Jim Rosemergy, to share them now. And I'll do the big view so I can see everybody. So if you just put your hand up, that would be great. Can't see everybody, but I still
Got
can't.
Amber. And
Amber.
Okay.
Amber, Paula, and Lois.
Thank you. I don't know why I lost my big view, but Amber?
Amber, you're muted.
I still can't see everyone.
Okay, I just wanted to thank Rev Jim for such a wonderful talk today. So interactive, which was fun and nice, and incorporating some of your personal stories was fabulous. So thank you very, very much.
Thanks, Amber.
Like, it was kind of nice to drop back into some tennis again.
Paula, Paula
Been a
had her
long
hand up. Paula,
time.
you'll have to unmute yourself.
Paula and then Tony.
And Lois.
Here I am. Okay. I just wanted to say, every time I listen to these talks, it expands my world. And it did expand it today. A thought came to me that I had read this week about inner strength and inner silence. And I looked at it in relationship to strength because I had watched Pauline's talk a few days before. And I felt that the inner silence for me was the Rockies. I went there once. I've traveled in Switzerland. I've traveled many other places. But in the Rockies, I found that inner silence, that spot of grace, whatever you want to call it. And without really praying, I guess I was praying because I was so in awe of what I was experiencing that I think it was a prayer. But the word connection that you used, Eric, was the word that I wrote down. Often I listen to a talk and I pick out one or two words to carry with me. The other week it was possibility. This week, I think it will be connection. And so I want you to know that when you talk to us, it carries on. Thank you so much.
Thanks, Paula. And Tony?
Thank you. You know, that was the one word I probably above all the others that I wanted everybody to get, which was connection. So thank you, Paula.
Oh, we were in the same space.
And was Tony next?
I don't mind saying something. Jim, when you were talking about it, I couldn't help but think about the Stephen King novel. So it kind of knocked me off a little bit, but I came back to it afterwards. Thank you very much.
That's one of the scariest movies of all time, and books, you know. So I haven't read the book, but I saw the movie. I don't like clowns anymore. I'm glad you came back, Tony.
Jim, I really liked your talking about, you know, the 90-pound gal who could lift the car because she forgot her limitations. And that's something I'm working very hard on these days, is to not focus on, you know, not even focus, but not to have any belief in a limitation, but rather than unlimited possibilities. And it's just so comforting to move into that space and to go, oh my gosh, you know. And I just had knee replacement surgery 3 weeks ago. And I mean, seriously, I am like 2 months ahead of schedule on recovery just because I believed it could happen. And I shared it with my Unity friends. Like, I blessed my leg, I told it what was going to happen, and we were doing it for the joy of walking and dancing and all the fun we were going to have, hiking and being able to go to the mountains and the beach. And it just programmed me to have the ultimate healing. And I said that believe was the most important word because that's what I believe. But it's, you know, and seeing that as an unlimited possibility, because all the information that I got was, this is one of the most painful surgeries you can have. It's going to take months to really get back on your feet, and all of the stuff that I heard, and it takes 2 to 3 years to get the surgery. Well, the surgery start to finish from my first doctor appointment till I was in the OR was just over 3 months. And the healing has been exceptional. So I'm living in that. And I'm committed to talking about it, not the great I am, but the world of infinite possibility. And I love that you talked about that. The other thing I really, really liked today, Jim, was when you addressed the weak shall be strong. You weren't talking about people that we see as weak. You were talking about me when I'm feeling like I just can't do this anymore. And I loved that, because I think every person here, I know them fairly well. every person here has been in that place more than one time in their life and just took that extra step. So I really like to keep bringing this back to myself, and then that connection with source. And you just wove those stories so beautifully today, and I thank you for that.
Thank you. Yeah, one of the things you said, particularly, talking to your body, to your leg, how important that is. And just about anything that we do, giving the body a heads up. I mean, you can communicate with it, give it a heads up, and it makes a tremendous difference. I mean, years ago, I donated a kidney to a man, and before the operation, I talked to my kidney, and I told it, it's going to be leaving. It's going to go to this other body, a wonderful man, to help him to be of service and so forth and so on. And I had this conversation with it, and the person who was receiving the kidney was having a conversation with his body, saying this new kidney was coming on in. We need to welcome it, etc. And when they hooked up all the plumbing, it started working immediately, which is, if you listen to the doctors and the typical people, they say, well, it takes 24 hours, 48 hours. But that kidney knew what it was supposed to do. Your leg is wanting to dance. So, it's getting ready to do its thing. And then just commenting on the woman, who forgot the limitation. But, remember, one of the driving forces of that was her love for and concern for another human being, in this case, her husband. And that, always that focus on forgetting limitation and then focus on another human being of service. It just unleashes all kinds of powers and wonders from within us.
Yeah.
So thank you, Kathleen, or Catherine, right? Catherine, yes.
Did anyone else have thoughts or questions? Lois, you're muted, Lois.
Lois, just hit your space bar,
I
honey.
got it. Yes. It's so nice not to have to get on a plane and fly to Fort Myers to see you. I certainly enjoyed seeing you and knowing where the two of you are now residing. And Arlene's going to watch it on YouTube, but she couldn't make it today. And she said to say hi. So that's from Arlene Boudreau.
Yes. Oh, wonderful, dear friend. Thank you.
Anyone else? I think you've given us so much to take away, Rev Jim, so much to think about in the days to come. And certainly you shared the message of strength so beautifully and vividly. And you're one of our few speakers to not use PowerPoint. And I think it worked so well for you because we could just focus on you and your message. And Catherine's going, oh, yay, because Catherine lives with Larry, who hosts the PowerPoint every week. But we saw you in your atmosphere. We saw you from your home, and that brought an extra poignancy, I think. And I love the fact that you brought in your wife, Nancy, to tell us what the word was in the message.
He knows all about that, and she doesn't like that movie It either. So, but we do know that word in Jesus' statement. It's pretty important. It's the big question: why do you pray? Why prayer and meditation? And typically most human beings, it's about their earthly experience, and if we can transcend that a bit, make it a little bit more on a mystical level, where it's about conscious awareness and awakening. Basically that's what God is. God is an awakened consciousness. You see it with Moses. I am that I am. That's a statement of just pure being. And so we've got the same name, I am. So it's all about waking up.
Yeah. I don't know if anybody wants to leave. I don't think they do.
Was anybody
Being
watching?
around you feels good. I have this book that Linda Branscombe gave me, and it's one of Rev Jim's books called A
Okay.
Closer Walk with God. And it's interesting that it shows trees and light. And you're in the mountains and you brought light to us today in a very special way. And
Thank
we're
you.
so deeply grateful. And I'm grateful to Rev Lori Hisson, who suggested you. I said to her a long time ago, who can I bring in as a speaker? And she said, well, Rev Jim. And I was saying your name the wrong way. And thanks to Bonnie, it's Rosemergy, not Rosemergy, as I was thinking in my head. And she suggested you. So
Yeah, hard G, hard G.
hard G, yeah, Rosemergy.
But Jim will do.
Thank you. Thank you.
Jim, I hope everybody doesn't mind, but I have
We
to
got that
ask you,
Zoom delay, you know?
Larry and I used to go for a Sunday brunch up in the North Georgia mountains with our dear friends. It was a great place right on the border of Georgia, North Carolina, South Carolina. I think it started with a D. Like, nope, not ringing any bells.
Dahlonega, were you in Dahlonega?
No,
Were you in Dahlonega?
no.
Okay.
I'll have to look it
Well,
up.
I'll tell
on
you
a
the
map.
truth, we have, since we moved here, we have, if it's close to South Carolina, we're about in the middle, I suppose.
It was right
And
where all
South Carolina, of course, farther east, but
meet. Yeah. No, never
Decatur?
mind.
where they all
Okay.
come together, right? Yeah, we're.
Decatur?
Oh, that's a good
the
guess.
truth-
but
The
that's-
truth is, we have not been to a restaurant since we moved here.
Oh, okay. That makes sense. Well, I'll send it to you because it's worth the
Yeah,
drive. They know how to
Okay,
eat in the
good,
South,
yeah,
I'll tell
please
you.
do. Yeah, they do. Little challenge for us, we're vegan, so sometimes we have to search around to find a good place. And once
Especially
COVID
down
lifts,
there.
that's one thing we'll be doing. We'll be looking around for a place that maybe not a COVID, maybe not a vegan restaurant, but one that has really good vegan dish would be wonderful.
Good luck. Yeah.
Well, everybody,
Yeah, thank you.
thank you for coming and a wondrous week ahead.
Yes.
Thank you, everybody. Have a great week.
Sylvia.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Everyone.
Bye now. You bet.